Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, students, today we're jumping right into what is essentially an epic rescue mission. We're looking at the ocean's most vital living architects. We usually look out at the ocean and just see this vast, empty blue. But right beneath the waves, there's an entire hidden world, a bustling underwater metropolis that is quite literally fighting for its life right now. We're talking about coral reefs, the billion-dollar heroes of our coastlines. So get ready to take some notes, because the sheer scale and importance of these ecosystems is absolutely going to blow your mind. So let's establish the stakes here. The ocean covers over 70% of our planet, right? It's unimaginably vast. Yet a staggering 25%, literally 1/4 of all sea fish, depend entirely on coral reefs to breed and grow. Think about that for a second. Out of all that sprawling, deep blue ocean, 1/4 of the fish life is concentrated in this one specific type of habitat. If we lose the reefs, we don't just lose some pretty scenery for scuba diving, we lose the foundation of the entire marine food web. The stakes literally couldn't be higher. Section 1. Meet the reef builders, the ocean's master architects. If you've ever looked at a coral reef and assumed you were just looking at a bunch of oddly shaped rocks, well, you wouldn't be the first, but you'd be completely wrong. Coral reefs are actually living, breathing fortresses. They're massive calcium carbonate structures formed over thousands of years by reef-building stony corals. We're not talking about inanimate objects here. These are tiny, living organisms that continuously build and expand their homes, ultimately creating one of Earth's most biologically diverse ecosystems. It's millions of tiny architects working together to build something you can actually see from space. Now, our tiny heroes are actually incredibly picky. They can't just set up shop anywhere in the water. They require what scientists call Goldilocks conditions. Everything has to be just right. First, they need tropical seas, meaning the water has to be nice and warm and salty. Second, they're restricted to shallow depths, usually under 60 meters. Why? Because they absolutely depend on sunlight to develop. And finally, they need crystal clear water with very low suspended material. If the water gets murky, the vital sunlight gets blocked and the coral just stops developing. So they're magnificent for sure, but they are highly sensitive. But when those Goldilocks conditions are met, the results are staggering. The global distribution of these builders is immense. You've got the famous Great Barrier Reef off the coast of Australia, stretching an epic 1,600 kilometers. But they're not just in Australia. Massive, thriving reef systems are all over the Philippines and Indonesia. Over in the Caribbean, you have incredible structures like the Belize Barrier Reefs and the fringing reefs of the Lesser Antilles. Wherever the conditions hit that sweet spot, these tiny architects build global wonders. Section 2. The ocean's billion-dollar rainforest, why our coastline heroes matter. You're going to hear coral reefs referred to by this legendary title a lot, the rainforests of the sea, and they earn every single bit of that reputation. Just like the Amazon on land, reefs are buzzing hubs of life. In fact, these underwater metropolises host nearly 1 million different species. From microscopic organisms all the way up to massive sea turtles and sharks, nearly 1 million distinct species call these calcium carbonate fortresses home. It's a level of biodiversity that's honestly kind of hard to wrap your head around. And beyond their biological importance, the economic value is just wild. $375 billion. That is the estimated global value of coral reefs every single year. They generate this massive wealth mostly through 3 avenues: supporting global fisheries, fueling the tourism industry, and providing critical coastal protection. They are quite literally paying for themselves many times over. Let's break down exactly how those superpowers play out in the real world. As a tourism engine, entire nations depend on them. Countries like Barbados, the Seychelles, and the Maldives rely heavily on reef-based tourism to keep their economies afloat. In the U.S., Florida's reefs alone bring in $1.6 billion in annual tourism revenue. But perhaps even more critically, they act as the ultimate coastal defense. Reefs are these massive, natural physical barriers sitting right offshore. They literally absorb the harsh, erosive power of crashing waves, shielding vulnerable human coastlines. They're protecting our homes for free. Part 3. Coral reefs under attack. The villains threatening our underwater heroes. Right now, these ecosystems are facing a two-front war. On one side, you have localized physical and chemical attacks. This is direct human destruction. We're talking about really devastating practices, like using dynamite to flush out fish or pumping cyanide into the water, which causes severe chemical and structural damage. It also includes everyday damage from dropped boat anchors and tourists literally trampling the reefs. Then, on the other side, we have the massive, invisible global climatic attacks, global warming and ocean acidification driven by increasing CO2 levels. That rising acidity is terrifying because it significantly impairs the coral's ability to actually build those vital calcium carbonate skeletons in the first place. Which brings us to global warming's primary and most devastating weapon against these ecosystems. It's called coral bleaching. Remember those Goldilocks conditions? Well, when water temperatures rise above that perfect warm zone, it triggers a deadly process. The high temperatures actually kill off the vital algae that lives inside the coral. Without that algae, the coral loses its beautiful color, turning a stark skeletal white, and it loses its vitality. It is essentially starving to death right before our eyes. And the assault doesn't stop there. We also have major pollution and development villains. Sedimentation flowing out from rivers can literally bury a reef alive. Untreated sewage dumped from urban areas creates incredibly toxic conditions. But perhaps the most shocking is large-scale coastal reclamation. When we build new land over the ocean, the destruction is absolute. A prime example is Dubai's artificial islands, which permanently destroyed 8 square kilometers of completely natural, thriving reef. Gone forever, just so we could build more land. Section 4. How we save them. The rescue mission in action. So, how do we fight back? We are actually using legal and economic shields right now. We're creating marine parks, which are strict legal protection zones, like the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park. Jamaica has also set up an amazing network in places like Montego Bay and Negril. We're also implementing strict ecotourism rules. Just by mandating that boats use mooring buoys instead of dropping heavy anchors, and by tightly managing scuba divers, we prevent so much physical damage. Plus, we're securing conservation funding. You know those entry fees tourists pay to visit marine parks? That money is often funneled directly back into active reef protection. The reefs are essentially funding their own security. Scientists are also pushing for some really innovative crowd control methods because we simply can't let tourists literally love these delicate ecosystems to death. They're suggesting visitor quotas and even lottery-based entrance systems. The goal is simple: ensure the sheer number of human visitors never exceeds a reef's natural carrying capacity. It's all about finding that perfect balance where we can appreciate their beauty without accidentally destroying them. And this all builds into a really incredible concept called integrated ecosystem management. It turns out, if you want to save the reef, you actually have to protect what's on the shore. It's like a giant puzzle. Look at how this natural lifeline works. Step 1. Nearby mangrove forests act as a natural sponge, filtering out land-based sedimentation and nutrient pollution. Step 2. Because of those mangroves, the ocean water stays wonderfully clear and unpolluted. Step 3. That essential sunlight we talked about earlier can successfully penetrate the shallow waters. And Step 4. Thanks to the mangroves, the delicate coral reef gets exactly what it needs to thrive. It's all connected. So students, this is where we're at. With marine parks, visitor quotas, and integrated ecosystem management, we have the playbook. We know exactly how to save these billion-dollar heroes. The science is clear and the solutions are totally actionable today. But the final, most crucial question isn't about knowing how to save them. It's this: will we act fast enough? I want you to really think about that, because the survival of a quarter of all sea life and the protection of our global coastlines is riding on the choices your generation makes next. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep asking questions, and I'll catch you next time.